going, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Well, we pretty much, unless.
No, let me just, you know, you don't have any questions with any of this other
I had a
stuff?
question about the physicals. How many members do we have?
It fluctuates in the low
40,
40s.
43-ish.
Okay, 40, so physicals are like $250 each?
Easy.
Yeah, maybe that's the discount when they come and do it, when we send them by themselves for like the initial
It's
one,
almost
it's
free.
more, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, it's over.
And that contract is up for tech occupations. This was there last year. So we'll need to
But they're,
re-up it, but they are by far,
yeah,
Always.
nobody else is even
nobody else
close.
comes close to what they're,
Yeah,
Is
that's,
there
maybe.
prevailing wage requirements or something? It just seems like a very high physical rate. You know, and again, I'm not-
Because they're giving them a physical to the, because they're giving them a physical to that standard, to the NFPA standard and to the OSHA respiratory. So they have that physical has to have the pulmonary function test, and then there's a
so long as
chest
they're
X-ray within every,
Urine, blood. It's a better
Right.
physical than I get at my doctor.
everybody has to have a chest x-ray every year?
no,
No,
not every year, but it's like every other year.
yeah.
And some of us, spare you the expense by
They
getting
get
to
away
see
from
New
it.
York to pay for it.
Yeah, that's all the paid firefighters that we have. 1, 2, they got their own.
I mean,
Give
because
us the
we
paperwork
get one
and
that meets the
reports.
NFPA standard, but
It's just, the reason why I just say that, to get an FAA pilot's physical, it's like $100. So it's amazing the difference, you know, between the cost.
and we've gone now, and we've checked that one, there's a bunch of other vendors, and not everybody uses who we use, but they're by far the cheapest.
I didn't realize that was an annual thing, but I guess it makes sense.
We've actually caught things that were
Yeah,
major,
major, very major.
yeah,
And
might saved the life, actually.
yeah, and so it's well worth it.
The equipment, you see there's actually 45 SCBA cylinders, now that's like a hard fast one, 15 years and hydraulic, so they're reaching the end of their life within 15 years. Charlie asked about the siren, so we know exactly how much the siren controller costs, we know that is the culprit. We know the siren works because the radio vendor was here one day and he actually helped us and he shorted it there and it did start the rumble,
So
yeah.
the signal between there and
It's
here.
the controller, alright, so the antenna's up there with the receiver above us, and then it runs down a wire, and then the controller's under the desk in there, and then
Dispatch.
there's a wire that goes under and out to the pole,
The phone lines, yes.
right,
Right.
so, we're gonna get rid of that mess, and
Wireless?
we'll put the receiver, the controller, and everything in the new box,
Right,
we're gonna have a little antenna on it, and that's where it'll be.
just like in this one.
Well, that's how it should be, this is a little, I don't know how it got to that point.
Well, was it wireless? I remember
Well,
flipping
you know
it.
why, because
Used
the
to ring
previous
same wires.
box used to just hit the,
Cut the
button.
wheels off it, so we rang three.
And the wheel
Yeah.
spinning, it's just not getting out to the,
Yeah, that thing's, we looked at
We
the
don't even
date
know.
on it, it says like nineteen
It's real old.
seventy-three.
where the
Oh, yeah,
wire
it
is.
is.
We've had 6 ex-chiefs out by the pole one day, and the wires over here, the wires over here, the wires over
Yeah,
there.
everybody took the
So they're not
wires
doing
somewhere
it
else.
in where the paper, where came in, it's downstairs. It's-
But that's a no-brainer to just do with that, it needs a new box,
Yeah.
so I have no idea, but like, we know exactly what's the matter and what to fix it.
Right.
So 2,000 for the repair.
That is just something I made up in my head.
Oh,
That's a good number.
That's a good
I
number.
don't know.
No,
I
'cause,
I know a 3R enclosure
I'm
is
gonna
probably
tell you-
$300-400 just by itself, there's
Right.
nothing in it.
Right,
so
and then how
maybe-
much is an electrician charge?
Well, absolutely nothing.
Easy.
Yeah, no, that's where I figured most of that 2,000 was going.
It's, well, the electrician.
I know a guy.
I think that I honestly couldn't tell you what that it could be more than you think. But I think you did the right thing by budgeting a couple grand anyway, because I know he may be able to just get a new set of phone lines, or if they go with wireless, if you're looking for a totally new thing.
Well, we
that's
have
a-
the receiver, we have to buy the controller, because the controllers is upstairs. We'll just buy the box that fits them, the power's into there, there's no reason not to do it that way.
Power right, I put a service on that pole, is there a pole next to it, I think? Is there two poles there?
There's a box on the pole there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's power right.
There's definitely
Oh,
power
it's
there,
power.
because we got it to jump that day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we know what's gotta be done.
Well, you gotta start someplace, and I guess
But,
that's. so-
We're getting
Wow.
audited by insurance service officers this month, and, let's just hope they don't ask us to verify that it works.
We gotta get it
It's
fixed.
gotta get fixed, so.
No, I know, but let's hope they don't pick that up.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, where are we?
We think these numbers are solid.
Do we?
What do we had from last year's budget as far as dollars?
Comparables?
Yeah.
Last year, your equipment line had $32,084, and your contractual had $50,000 in it. This year, it's $45,310 and $61,062. So your grand total is about $25,000 up
In
from,
addition.
from last
We'll
year.
realize we requested more, and our traditional funding has been about at least 50. Well, if you look at contractual, it's been in 60 range for the past 6-7 years.
Do we have, the reserves are still in there for this year?
Well, the reserves, the way the allocation was, you have out of the original 45,000 you put away, you still have 25,000 allocated for reserves.
But I mean, the next year going forward, we're gonna establish reserves for the.
I think you probably want to contribute more to them.
But so, if you're asking, I didn't put anything in the apparatus or the command vehicle reserve this year because we can't take forever to do the SCBA. I mean,
I know that, but I still think it's important to have a reserve fund established for the vehicle.
You know, as we talked about, Eric, you know, you had a fire truck in bonding, okay, so you're
right,
paying.
but, I mean, that's not the fault of the fire department.
No, not at all, but the board has to take charge of that. Because essentially that fire truck, I believe, was like $250,000. Once you had the interest rate, that truck cost like $425,000. So if the boards are properly putting money away every year, you're getting a truck without interest, technically. So, you know,
There's no more.
That starts at some point.
Means for firefighters to do it here, firefighters, self-contained breathing. And this, I mean, none of the details make me happy, I haven't got here, you know, but it's just the nature of it, and we had to come up with a practical solution, so.
The one thing I would like to do is just add, on the side, I'd like to put at least 5,000 for the vehicle with the truck reserve, and then as we go through the budget, knowing that we're gonna be short, then we can pull that out. You know, an additional, we need to keep that, we need to keep feeding that, we can't not
No, I
feed
know,
that.
I agree.
So we're adding 5,000.
I wanna add 5,000 if the budget projects, if it doesn't, then.
We understand, when we talk about the apparatus, we think, man,
No,
that's the biggest
apparatus is right.
expenditure,
No.
but when you think about an SCBA now costs, what's it in here? Then that
We're
doesn't
in.
even include the cylinder or the face piece.
No, the only thing I'm saying, Eric, is I'm with these numbers. I wanna add,
Yeah.
if we're able, we have like 5 other items where if we're able, we're taking it up $1,000 or so. If we're able, I want 5,000 more in the
What I'm saying is, that we should almost think of SCBA as along the same lines as an apparatus. When you take the total cost of those, and if you gave them a 20-year lifespan, which was honest, they cost as much as the rescue, or whatever. When you think about cylinders, face pieces that are now $260 each, but we actually replaced those a year or two ago because we planned for that. And now the cylinders are over $1,000 each. So when you think about those, you almost gotta think about those in the realm of what a major capital
Yeah.
expenditure.
Okay.
So what I'll do is, I'll leave those numbers right now in the budget. As far as reserve funds are concerned, how does the board want to populate the reserves that are currently in the budget?
We're gonna have to talk about that, you know what, I think that they need to be there.
Okay, so last year, you guys allocated 25 for equipment, 15 for truck, with being the engine, and 5 for the command vehicle.
So this year, we're doing 42 for equipment. We're putting in an additional 5 under apparatus. And we're not populating the command.
And realize so once again, how I came to the 42 was I said, what we had last year for equipment, 42, and another 42 next year would complete the SCBA project, because it just can't go on forever, is what I was getting at. So that's where I came up with that number.
That's, then it'll drop
Now, if the
And we can
feds
put that money
decide to
into
give
trucks
us
next year.
$60,000 in July, and we can squeeze some out of there, then we can complete the project, and we wouldn't be asking for 42 next year.
Well,
And then if that grant comes in, Ed, would we be okay to allocate that money into the apparatus and vehicle reserves?
Well, if the grant comes in, what ends up happening is it just becomes an additional source of revenue that wasn't anticipated. I would venture to say the best way to approach it is what's the probability of getting the grant? If the probability is 75% or higher, I would recommend using that revenue source as part of your budget. If it's not, then what you can do is if you get that amount, that would be able to help you for next year's budget. When you're budgeting next year, because then the fire department would spend those funds before the end of the budget year.
You,
And then
you have to purchase that, though,
Right.
like, we would have a year to make that purchase.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
have to provide receipts instead of you getting the money up front. You have to buy and then you get the money.
Right, but my point is, we gotta complete the project. So I'm saying this project cost $110,000.
and
They're
me
gonna
personally,
spend
not
this-
speaking for the board,
I don't wanna buy them and leave them in the closet, that
No.
would be even sillier.
I would, and this is where the incentive comes to do what you're doing. If you get the grants, then I would push to move a majority of that budget, the leftover budget that we're not using because you got the grant, into your reserves. To do a budget transfer, whether it's into apparatus or vehicle, so that you guys have that, because I want you to get 3 more grants. And why am I getting a grant if I just come, I'll ask the board for this money, if I don't get it, we don't spend it. This is what I said, you guys are going above and beyond. When you do that, there should be a reward.
The point is, if you get the grant too, there's no request for $42,000 next year for an equipment that you complete the project, you have SCBA that lasts you
So,
a long
yeah,
time.
I-
I mean, that's the
Well,
winning part.
then basically, maybe the board should say.
But we're
Get a
better than
commitment.
50% on it. I mean,
Okay,
I don't know like an award, but my name's been on a lot of them, not just here, I've written them for other places, and, you know, doing the work, so I know how to hit the keywords.
well, I guess the thing
Yeah,
is if the board, and I believe it's rightfully so, if the board feels like there's gonna be aggressive effort to get those grants, then you're not going out as much on a limb to approve a little bit higher amount of fire department spending. But just caution, remember what happens, like, with the seniors, you allocated 53.5, okay? But what happens is the donations dry up.
Right.
Okay, because you didn't get a lot of donations, because a lot of people, right or wrong, they feel, oh geez, well, it's already being paid for, so maybe we don't need to put any donations in. If it's not there, you tend to get more people willing to contribute to the cause. And it's nothing personal with the seniors, it's just a fact of life. If it's already funded, people aren't aggressive looking for the money. If it's not funded, people are looking under every rock they can to find money.
Well, the fire company via
They're pretty
the
aggressive.
special.
We're always looking.
And
So if you feel comfortable that there's gonna be an aggressive grant, then I think it's justifying the expense.
I mean, not that it directly affected your budget, but the whole smoke detector program is a $10,000 federal grant that, you know, actually.
Well, it's a
you know,
wonderful thing regardless, it's got nothing to do with our budget, but it.
No,
It
it
saves
is,
more
but
money.
it is
Yeah.
fire prevention,
Yeah,
and
it
it's,
is.
And hopefully it
I'm
prevents.
not looking to put any extra money towards spending.
No.
When I talk about this, I'm talking about the money that you bring in against it. I want more to go in reserves and whatnot, so that we bring up our truck reserve and our other things quicker, so that we don't run into a situation.
No, I agree, and you asked us how we're gonna populate this vacant reserve fund, and as long as we have the ability to maybe do some creative finance later on, and have, it's essential that you have them, because at some point in time, we're gonna be using them, and we won't be borrowing the rates 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now, we're not gonna be anywhere near that now, so, I think we gotta establish them anyway, you know?
Yeah, I agree, and I would recommend that you at least put 5 in each of the 3 funds. Because if you don't keep adding to them every year, you're not going to reach where you need to
Right.
when you need the money.
Right.
And that's really the whole point with the reserves, is making sure that you're contributing into it. You know, it always goes back, pay yourself first. When you get your
Oh,
check,
yeah.
put into savings 10% or whatever.
Do we have to
That's kind of-
establish that amount?
No,
at the
well-
budget thing,
well,
as
for the
far as
tentative-
the size of
for
the
the-
reserve?
Well, for the tentative budget, you want an estimate of what you're
Right.
looking for. After the tentative budget, you can still make changes.
Okay.
But the tentative budget is gonna be what you're gonna publicly put to the, let the public see, this is approximate our spending plan. Then you get the public hearing, the public's response, and then you can make adjustments based on the public hearing. Now, if you have 50 people show up on one issue in the public hearing, you might be compelled to adjust something. If you have nobody show up, then you pretty much just kind of work with whatever. So, I would say, put in here what you think would be reasonable, and then you can always modify it later.
Is the same amount that we had last year reasonable request for this evening?
It depends what you do with a couple other items, so you could earmark the same amounts, and then when we get to the bottom line, we should be all right. I did a quick, I did a review of all the payroll and everything. Right now, the way you've budgeted, you're pretty much on track for last year, within $100,000 of last year's budget. So that's good, that's not a bad thing. As we get next week, when we discuss your payroll and discuss what you want to do, because you have contracts that right now are not existing, so you'll have to determine whether or not you want to do anything with raises or just escrow some money away. When I say escrow, put some money away in a reserve for that. Then we'll know a little bit more about where we're going to be with dollars. I think it's a good move by this board to allocate more money by your special districts for services that are being rendered from the A fund, like your insurance allocation, like your administrative expense, help with billing and all that. It probably should have been done a long time ago, but you'd be impressed because of the tax cap to look at all these things, and now you're gonna make those adjustments. So I think that that would be good. So I can put in exactly what you had last year, and then we can go from there if that's what you'd like to do.
But how much?
25 equipment reserve, 15 engine, $5,000.
No, we need
So
to-
but what's in there, my point is, you need $45,000 available. If the feds come through with that, we gotta complete the project like that, and that's all I'm getting. I don't
Well,
care.
the reserve fund would have funds in it. That would be an appropriate use of the reserve.
No, I
Well, we
understand that
want-
part, but like, how much is in there now?
Well, we've got the
'Cause we
42.
took some out.
You'll have
you
15,
requested.
you'll have 15,000 in your equipment reserve if the board allocates that for a reserve fund by the end of this year.
But what's in there now?
You mean
You
from
have
this
budgeted.
year?
From this year,
Oh,
you've
carrying
budgeted
it over.
15,000.
Right.
That
We've got
has to be-
15 and we're adding 42.
No, that's your regular line. We're talking reserve line, you've got 25 budgeted, 15 is actually remaining, and
Am I not?
You gotta
No,
separate
no, I-
This is 42
Yeah, no,
in
I
reserve
requested 42 in the.
For this
equipment
year.
reserve. Yes.
for this future year that we're doing the budget
let me,
for.
where's the paper? Let me just look at it.
You got it, I think.
Is it, this is your equipment budget, where's the reserve? I don't see that on here.
It says,
The cut on
the
the,
first line is equipment, then contractual, then equipment reserve.
Yeah, but
at
these sheets,
42.
I'm not, oh, that's a different sheet then, that's not these, let me see that one. Did that come after what you sent me, Charlie?
No.
Because I don't remember seeing those. All right, let me look at those. All right, so you're asking for 42. I didn't see this sheet, so I don't know.
And I told you how I got to 42. If we don't receive the grant, we want to complete this project, we have to complete this
Right.
project.
All right, so you're saying
So that
put all
number
of that.
in 2 years gets, with what's in there, gets us to just do our replacement program.
See, Charlie, that's why I don't have anything on reserves, because.
But that's my,
See this
so my
document.
point is, if we get funded and we do the replacement, then we're not asking for that next year, because we already did it. But the federal share is like 60-something thousand.
How
I
much,
say I
how much will you need?
110. That's my guess. There's no real price out there, what the upgrade costs. They gave me a ballpark. They even told me not to tell people what it was, but like, no, I mean, it is just, I said I got a budget, but, it's not available. I think it'll be available within the next
So,
3 months.
Now I'm actually understanding this better. You're gonna need, if you get the 60, you need the 40 with the 60 anyway, and what's in the reserve. And now next year, you won't need the additional money because the project's done. So no matter
It
what,
will be done.
we need this, see, I was thinking if you got the 60, what I was saying was that we can probably put some of this money in, but you need to use all of it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
I
you
think
need the
so. I
42
mean-
and the 50.
I got you. He needs the
You need the
42 and the 50
Technically,
with the grant. Then he won't ask for the 42 next year. He
Well,
needs
you'll,
that,
well, if you get the grant, you'll have all this money back as
No.
far as.
No,
It's gonna be 110.
Oh,
it's not just, that's
I
what
mean,
I was
that's a-
thinking. I was thinking it was 80.
yes.
It's 110, so he needs, if he gets the grant, the 42, and what's in the reserve, boom. But now we're not doing that next year. If he doesn't get the grant, we're looking at 42 plus the reserves, plus at least 42 to 50 next year to finish the program.
Correct.
Yeah, so we gotta get the grant, I got it.
Eric's also, Eric's also
I hear you.
looking at
We got it.
energy for,
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't wanna ask them and we're not funded, you kinda wanna be in, that they're just piling on and helping with the project. And they act a lot faster. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
We're good.
my only recommendation is that you should at least populate each of these reserve funds every year.
I agree. That's what we were saying.
yeah, we're putting 5 and 5 in apparatus and vehicle.
And we're only putting 5 and 5 in apparatus and vehicle if the budget
Can
allows.
sustain it.
The priority is the 42. That's what we have to do.
Because you,
And then
I
next
agree
year,
with major
right.
apparatus, I'm just saying, SCBA should
No, no.
almost, for the cost of it, should
But
be
here's the thing.
thought of that way.
next
The
year,
capital
if you get the
expenditure.
grant, we can double up on the other lines. Because we're not gonna be spending the 42, and
Right,
we
'cause
can
it
go
would
there.
be done.
So we can double up on that
Yeah.
line. So let's plan for what we need, which is the 42. If the budget goes well, we can go 5 and 5 to populate the other 2 reserves. If not, we're just gonna do the 42 this year. And then we'll work on the reserves for next year. After you get that grant, you get the 50,000 from Entergy and the extra 200,000 from the state. And I appreciate that effort.
Just quick,
Yes.
couple quick, since I don't have anything for police department submittal, we're not gonna be able to do police Wednesday.
Right.
So what I recommend we do is move police to Monday,
Thanks, Eric.
and, on Wednesday, we review the audit.
Right.
Okay.
You guys got that?
I'll-
Give you guys a copy
We're
of the audit.
moving police to
Charlie?
Monday because we need time to populate the
Charlie?
numbers. We don't have them yet.
Oh, thank you.
So we're gonna discuss, the audit, on Wednesday for Wednesday's meeting,
Okay.
okay? And, that's it.
Oh,
Thank
for
you.
the motion to come out of the bottom?
No, we're just,
No,
regular
you just-
session.
you just transfer over.
We're just moving over.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
What's that? Shift the camera?